Timmy, Timmy, defend. Push it backward. He's 20 minutes under Timmy's hand. Take it out, Timmy. Work. Working there. Work. Yes. Again, Timmy. Middle. What's up? No peanuts. Also, boys. Terence, what'd you think, man? Just they have it. Yeah. From the jump, you could tell that his balance was off. He was reaching. He just didn't have it tonight. Do you think it was a layoff? Do you think it was a combination of things? Like, what do you think? Probably all of it. All of it? Yeah. He didn't take the punches well. He was slow. Like, you can just tell that Tim was more fresher.
Was it hard for you to watch?
Kinda. I really wanted him to do real well. He did what he had to do to finish the fight, though.
Hopefully he comes over here.
Oh, yeah, Errol. All the best, Errol. You're a legend, mate. God bless.
I think he announced that he's not going to fight in the ring anymore. Obviously, you think that's the right decision based on what you saw here tonight, right?
Yeah, he's been in a lot of wars, with his fighting style. Come forward, take some punishment, dish some punishment, and try to break somebody down. That type of style, it only goes so far.
Why?
He done.
Talk on me! Adrian! Talk on me! Brother! What are you doing? You getting We don't want to.
Uh-oh.
Pay attention to check, huh?
I don't know what's going on. What's about to happen?
Take it around.
That's the first thing he said, was that I think physicality was the difference, I was starving myself to get to 154, and I feel a big difference at 160. I feel like I just feel much stronger. One of my big things is strength, being able to bully my opponents, and I felt like that's what I did. I was actually a bit in shock. I thought, Errol Spence was a legend again, but how I felt in front of him just felt completely different. Yeah.
First off, congrats. Big name to have on your resume. Overall, how did you feel about the performance you had? Were you happy with what you did in the ring?
No, I think I can do better. I think I need to let my hands go a bit more. I could have. I felt like I could have stopped him. Felt like it was there for the taking. But look, I'm pretty happy with beating a legend, Errol Spence, in one of the biggest fights of Australian boxing history. It's pretty cool. I don't think it's sunk in yet.
How does Howard feel?
Nothing. Like, he was strong, but I don't know. It was nothing like I've never felt before.
Johnny Lewis, what do you think of that?
Good performance by Tim. Yeah, I thought he controlled it and dictated it. I thought he won well.
What do you make of Jeff in his corner? Obviously, a victory is a great thing.
Well, he's a lot better than what he's had in there in the past.
Was it like to see this happen, this event, and a victory like this? What's it mean for you to see something like this in Australia?
Well, it's breathing fire into our sport. So wonderful, wonderful.
Did you see it as wide as the car as well? Did you see it as wide as the car?
I never had a doubt that he's won. I thought he went comfortably. But
Thank you, mate.
Nah, it wasn't the way I hoped it would go. It was a tough fight, a long fight, but it was cool. Was able to go 12 rounds and I finished the fight. So it didn't go the way I wanted it to go. So much respect to Tim.
Better than you expected.
Uh, he's what I expected. I mean, he's what I expected.
What did he do really well?
Um, he was timing real well, and my timing was kind of off.
Is that the 3 years off or is
Uh, I mean, it could be. I mean, I'm not gonna use that as an excuse. Tim did the same tonight.
When you evaluate where you're at boxing and realize now, Errol, you think about retirement or just what?
Nah, man, I'm not. There's no reason to fight, man. I answered a lot of questions tonight for myself personally, and going 12 rounds and realizing how long that 12 rounds was. It's time to hang them up because them that 12 rounds don't usually isn't that long. But it was a long 12 rounds tonight, so it's time to hang them up.
Errol, back there. It's been 3 years since you stepped back from the ring. How did those first few rounds feel for you?
The first 3 rounds, it felt okay. I wasn't nervous or anything like that. The first 2 rounds felt okay. Um, Shit, after the fight, I was sore. I don't remember 12 rounds feeling like that. Like, that's how I knew like it's time to hang him up. Like, you can't be off that long and then come back and think you can fight a 12 round fight. You know what I'm saying? With a caliber opponent like that.
Came back.
Oh yeah, for sure. I came back because, I came back. Went 12 rounds. Like I came back because we in an era where people are scared to fail. We're in an era where everything's on social media, everything's getting recorded. And, people scared to jump out and do things and dare to do stuff because they're scared that it's gonna get posted and people laugh at you and things like that. But the same people who laugh and make funny jokes on social media and stuff never really done anything with their life. So, that's where it's at because I'm sure, people have things to say and this and that, but I'm sure they wouldn't have the guts to do what I did, come back and fight a quality opponent like Tim Tszyu in his backyard and go a whole turn around and put on a great show. Nah, it wasn't the way I hoped it would go. It was a tough fight, a long fight, but it was cool. Was able to go 12 rounds and I finished the fight. So it didn't go the way I wanted it to go. So much respect to Tim.
Better than you expected.
Uh, he's what I expected. I mean, he's what I expected.
what did he do really well?
Um, he was timing real well, and my timing was kind of off.
Is that the 3 years off or is
Uh, I mean, it could be. I mean, I'm not gonna use that as an excuse. Tim did the same tonight.
When you evaluate where you're at boxing and realize now, Errol, you think about retirement or just what?
Nah, man, I'm not. There's no reason to fight, man. I answered a lot of questions tonight for myself personally, and going 12 rounds and realizing how long that 12 rounds was. You know, it's time to hang him up because them that 12 rounds don't usually isn't that long. But it was a long 12 rounds tonight, so it's time to to hang him up.
Errol, back here. No, it's been 3 years since you stepped back from the ring. How did those first few rounds feel for you?
The first 3 rounds it felt okay. I wasn't nervous or anything like that. The first 2 rounds felt okay. Um, Shit, after the fight, I was sore. I don't remember 12 rounds feeling like that. Like, that's how I knew like it's time to hang him up. Like, you can't be off that long and then come back and think you can fight a 12 round fight. You know what I'm saying? With a caliber opponent like that.
Came back.
Oh yeah, for sure. I came back because I came back. Went 12 rounds. Like I came back because we in an era where people are scared to fail. We're in an era where everything's on social media, everything's getting recorded. And, people scared to jump out and do things and dare to do stuff because they're scared that it's gonna get posted and people laugh at you and things like that. But the same people who laugh and make funny jokes on social media and stuff never really done anything with their life. So, that's where it's at because I'm sure, people have things to say and this and that, but I'm sure they wouldn't have the guts to do what I did, come back and fight a quality opponent like Tim Tszyu in his backyard and go a whole turn around and put on a great show.
Before the opening bell, the sport's biggest voices had already explained exactly what was at stake. Mike Tyson believed Spence's lack of recent activity could become the deciding factor, while warning that Tszyu's toughness made the matchup extremely dangerous.
I don't know if Spence have enough activity. I would like to see Spence do well, but Lou's a tough guy too.
Meanwhile, Paulie Malignaggi believed Tszyu would attack immediately to test Spence before he could settle into the fight. He felt an aggressive opening would reveal whether Spence still belonged at the elite level.
I think about the addition of Fennec, and I think about the fact that Fennec was a really strong-willed man as a fighter, and he seems like he's all about the psychology, right? The mentality of a fighter. If I think about all these things, and I think about what Tim's been lacking, which is I think the psychology of a fighter. He's been too technical and not mean enough these couple of fights. I think you see a quick start by Tim Tszyu. I think you see him try to jump on Errol and see what Errol has.
Furthermore, Malignaggi pointed to mentality as a factor just as important as skill, noting that hesitation against an aggressive opponent can carry as much weight as the physical exchanges themselves.
I think Errol would be good himself to try to start fast, just to immerse himself right in there, and that way you're not thinking, you're just going, and then you get yourself into the rhythm of the fight. Because if he doesn't, and Tim does, I think it also tells you a little bit about Errol's mentality as well. Is he having a little bit of doubts? Because remember, Errol was always an aggressive guy. Errol's fighting style was always aggressive. So regardless of the layoff, you would think Errol is going to be Errol, right? If that in and of itself changes, and it's only Tim starting out aggressively, then of course we already know where Errol's head is at, I think.
Roy Jones Jr. emphasized that Spence needed to rely on his complete boxing ability rather than pressure alone to deal with elite competition like Tszyu.
I'll take him back and make him start watching that because this is the guy that we need now to beat these elite guys because we need a guy that can do it all. You understand me? So some of these elite guys, like Bud, pressure ain't gonna be enough.
Yeah, and I've seen Errol switch to orthodox.
Yeah, he can do it all.
Yeah.
He can do it all. Like I said, when you go back and look at his tapes as an amateur, he had the total package.
His point before the opening bell was clear. To get past the elite tier of the division, raw pressure would not be enough. Spence would need to reach back into a more complete skill set to prove he still had everything required to beat the best.
He's a monster.
You got to make the Olympics. You got to box.
He could do it all, bro. He could do it all, just that he didn't use that in the pro. But he can, because that's where he came from.
Right.
That's why he said, if you going to tell him something, or you going to train, what would you tell him? I'll take him back and make him start watching that because this is the guy that we need now to beat these elite guys because we need a guy that can do it all. You understand me? So some of these elite guys, like Bud, pressure ain't gonna be enough.
Yeah, and I've seen Errol switch to orthodox.
Yeah, he can do it all.
Yeah.
He can do it all. Like I said, when you go back and look at his tapes as an amateur, he had the total package.
Credentials became a major point of comparison between the two fighters. Billy noted that both men were in the later stages of their careers, but argued that even at half of his former self, Spence's resume and experience against elite competition made him a fighter Tszyu couldn't afford to underestimate.
Yeah, mate, look, you got two guys who are on the tail end of their career. I feel that Errol Spence has had his time in the sun. I feel that Tim Tszyu did have a little bit of time in the sun, but you know, they're both obviously coming off. You know, Tim's rebuilding, but Spence is coming off a bad loss. But I really believe that, you know, if Errol Spence at 50% turns up and Tim turns up at 99.5%, it's not enough for him to be somebody like Errol Spence. That's just my opinion. I feel that Errol Spence has got much better credentials than Tim does.
In addition, Dib addressed Tsyu's career decisions, noting that emotion has sometimes played a bigger role than careful planning, and that rushed decisions in a fighter's career often carry lasting consequences.
And you may ask me, what do you mean when you say road rage? You know, when you're in a situation and you're in a car and you get into a scuffle with a guy because he did something, that's a road rage moment, right? When you sit back and you're thinking, oh, mate, I wish I never did that, you know? But it's too late. You've already done it. And so I believe all of these decisions that Tim's made have just been road rage decisions. He hasn't really sat back and thought about it. You know what I mean? He hasn't given his time to, you know, when you say Errol Spence has taken 3 years off, maybe Tim needed to take some time off. Not 3 years. Maybe he needed to take a year off, reevaluate what he's doing, work out where he's with his family, work out where he's with his uncle.
For his part, Shaddy McCoy discussed the timing of the matchup, describing it as a strategically chosen opportunity for Spence, considering Tsyu's recent stretch of results.
I don't like that part, but I do think that if you're going to come back from that long layoff and then the whooping you got from Terence Crawford, this is the fight you get it at, because Tim got a name and all that, but Tim, his last couple fights, he been getting whooped on too.
Like I told you, he's been knocked out.
He's not a jabroni.
I know, but what I'm saying is, like,
He is a jabroni. Go
I don't
ahead.
want to call him a jabroni. All I'm saying is,
Straight up jabroni.
Errol kept talking about how I'm gonna come back when I want to, and I think he found the right time. He took enough breaks, long enough break. He found the right opponent for him to get his confidence back. He's going all the way to Australia though, and we all know this: boxing is way better when Errol Spence Jr. is involved.
Absolutely.
Similarly, Sean Porter spoke about evolution as part of a boxer's longevity, noting that a style developed earlier in a career often needs adjustment when facing newer competition.
Another thing that came up, he said, you know, how does he fare with everyone now? Ain't nothing but a bunch of sharks. And I said, well, yeah, he's gonna have to become a killer whale now. He's gonna have to do things very methodically in a different way than he's ever had.
Building on that, Peter Bedell compared the two men's experience against elite opposition, highlighting the contrast in what each had already faced throughout their careers and how that imbalance shaped the pressure heading into the fight.
Tim Tszyu, to me, has never fought anyone like Errol Spence. I mean, I know people are saying Spence is shot. He hasn't fought for 3 years. He's 36 years old. But if you look at the resumes, he's beaten 7 world champions. His amateur record was 135-12, Errol Spence. Just a phenomenal generational talent, top 5 pound-for-pound fighter at one stage of his career. And I think there's nothing that Tim Tszyu will pose that Errol hasn't seen before. Conversely, Tim will see a lot of things that I don't believe he's seen.
Additionally, Bedell addressed the stakes specifically for Tszyu, describing the moment as a significant step in the direction of his career. He expressed his hope for Tsyu's success, while acknowledging the magnitude of the occasion.
And thus, on home soil, the pressure is on Tim Tszyu because, to me, if Tim loses this fight, he has to seriously consider retirement because I don't know where he goes if he doesn't beat Errol Spence. So, look, I know he's only 31, Tim, but I just feel like in terms of routes and navigations and where you go, I guess very rarely in boxing are you static. You're either on the rise or you're on decline. And if Tim can't win this, then I think it's almost over for him. But I really hope he can win. My heart says he can do it, but my head says that Errol Spence's best is still better than Tim Tszyu's best, and that's what Tim has to conquer. That's why the pressure's on him.
Behind the scenes, Ronnie Shields revealed that he had deliberately pushed Spence through brutal training camps to prove he was still capable of competing at the highest level. Passing those tests convinced Shields that the comeback was genuine.
Errol Spence is in great shape. You know, I told him from the very first day he called me, I say, the first week I'm going to put you through hell. And if you can handle that, then man, you have a deal that I'll train you. And then we did. I put him through hell, and he handled it very well.
Recent activity was also considered an important factor. Barry pointed to Tszyu's pair of 10-round outings as a genuine advantage, arguing that having those rounds behind him would make a difference in a high-stakes fight by keeping him sharp.
That's why I fancy Tim Tszyu. Activity, I mean, he's had 2 10-round fights, 2 wins since his terrible loss to Fundora. And he looked pretty good. He didn't look exhilarating, I won't say that, and he didn't smash them, but they were both pretty reasonable opponents with good records, durable. So Tim's got the rounds under his belt, and I reckon that's going to be the most important thing, especially, look, I really don't think it'll go far, 5, 6 rounds maximum, I reckon. Someone's going to go for sure. And I think it'll be Errol Spence. I think he'll get caught, and Timmy can punt.
Finally, closing out the build-up, Stephen Fulton believed the showdown represented a career-defining moment for both fighters rather than a routine comeback. He argued that losing to elite champions should never erase a fighter's reputation, but boxing often judges harshly after a single setback.
He has a good career. This is like a do or die fight for him as well, though. So and I feel like the same as for me, like a do or die fight.
I'm not sure how much you followed Tim Tszyu's career, but obviously that loss to Fundora and, Buckram, he sort of challenged the top. He's only lost to the top, the world champions. Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, like, when people like, this is a do or die fight, we're like, yeah, we lost the world champions.
Yeah.
It's not like we just losing to anybody.
Now that the fight had come and gone, attention immediately shifted to what comes next for both fighters. Questions surrounded Spence's contract status and whether Premier Boxing Champions or a streaming partner would influence his next move. Meanwhile, for Tszyu, speculation focused on whether he would remain at 154 pounds, pursue a rematch clause, or have his team target another marquee opponent to keep his momentum going. So, where do Spence and Tszyu go from here? And who would you like to see either fighter face next?